Have you ever felt like your mind won't stop spinning, even when the world outside is calm? What if I told you that most of your stress doesn't come from reality, but from your reaction to it? And did you know that the ancient Stoics had a surprisingly modern solution for this daily mental chaos? Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It's a profound reminder, especially if you've ever felt the weight of a mind overloaded with noise. Maybe you've experienced that quiet frustration when indecision cripples your momentum, or that exhausting loop of overthinking where your thoughts spin faster than you can catch them. We've all been there, replaying conversations from earlier today, forecasting every possible outcome of tomorrow, drowning in a sea of what-ifs. But today, we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to tackle this challenge head-on with 10 practical Stoic strategies to overcome overthinking. If you're someone seeking clarity and calm in the midst of mental clutter, this is your moment. So make sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe, because what we're about to share could change how you think forever. Visualize your overthinking as an external force. Overthinking often sneaks up on you, just like fog slowly creeping in over a once clear morning. It begins as a small concern, maybe just a passing thought. But before long, it grows into a thick cloud that blurs everything in sight. In today's world, where information hits us like hail in a thunderstorm, this is more common than ever. Our minds fill up with what-ifs, what-nows, and what could-have-beens until we can hardly breathe. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of ancient Rome, once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So what if we treated overthinking not as a part of us, but as something separate? That's the first technique. See your overthinking as an external force. This isn't about attacking your thoughts, but learning to step back and recognize that they do not define you. Picture those nagging thoughts as clouds drifting past a mountain. You are the mountain, solid, grounded, immovable. The clouds pass, but they don't stay. Stoicism teaches us to observe our thoughts without attaching to them. Try this. Imagine placing each anxious thought into a small bubble. Watch that bubble float away, getting smaller and smaller until it disappears. This practice creates space between you and your thoughts, and in that space, peace grows. You start to understand these thoughts are not you, they are visitors, and visitors only stay if you let them. Like wearing earplugs in a noisy crowd, this mental habit allows you to focus on what matters and silence the rest. Over time, you train your brain to release the noise before it becomes a storm. So next time you feel that familiar pull of overthinking, pause. Notice the thought. Label it. Let it go. You're not pushing it away with force, you're simply refusing to give it power. This is how you begin to reclaim your mental territory, one thought at a time. Take control by refocusing your energy. Transition soft lead into Trang 2. But once you've spotted the storm and stepped back, the next question is, where should your focus go instead? How do you shift your energy from chaos to clarity? Let's explore that in the next step. Now that you've learned to visualize your thoughts as something separate from who you are, the next step is equally powerful, redirecting your energy back into the present moment. Take control by refocusing. Your energy, Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." That single line captures a deep truth. When you anchor yourself in the now, you break free from the grip of worry and over-analysis. To stop overthinking, the first move is grounding yourself in what's real, what's here, what's in front of you. This means shifting your focus away from the uncertain what-ifs of tomorrow and into the firm footing of today. It doesn't need to be something grand. In fact, the smaller, the better. Start by pouring your energy into a simple task, a task that invites your full attention. It could be as basic as tidying up your desk, taking a brisk walk outside, or getting lost in the pages of a good book. These small actions may seem ordinary, but they hold extraordinary power. Why? Because they require your presence. They call you into the moment. And in that moment, your thoughts begin to align with your actions. That's not distraction, it's deliberate direction. You're not running from your thoughts, you're leading them. Stoicism isn't about suppressing what you feel or think. It's about managing it, shaping it, choosing where your energy goes instead of letting your mind pull you around like a leaf in the wind. Think of it like training a muscle. Each time you catch yourself spiraling and you consciously shift your focus, you're strengthening your mental discipline. Over time, that discipline becomes instinct. And soon, what once felt like a tidal wave of overthinking can be handled, wave by wave, with calm, steady action. Embrace impermanence and practice letting go. But what about those thoughts that linger? The ones that won't let go, no matter how hard you try? That brings us to the next essential idea, embracing impermanence. We all know the feeling, lying awake at night, our minds racing at full speed, rethinking the past, worrying about the future. It's a trap we all fall into, the endless loop of mental noise. This is the playground of overthinking, where thoughts get sticky, where they hang around longer than they should. Students worry about exams, professionals stress over deadlines, parents fret about their children. No one is immune. And in these moments, we need a reminder from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a man who is alive. At first glance, it may sound intense, but its meaning is beautifully clear. Life is short, and everything, including our thoughts, is temporary. Overthinking often happens when we treat our thoughts as if they're fixed, immovable, eternal. But they're not. Thoughts change. They fade. They pass. Just like clouds or leaves in a river. So how do you let go? How do you practice impermanence? Start by visualizing. Picture your thoughts as leaves drifting on a river, or clouds slowly changing shape and dissolving in the sky. Watch them move on without chasing them. This simple mental practice helps loosen their grip. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts, and the more you do it, the more natural it becomes to let go of what no longer serves you. Letting go isn't weakness, it's strength. It's choosing to no longer allow unhelpful thoughts to rent space in your mind, rent-free. And the more you practice, the more space you create inside yourself for peace, clarity, and purpose. Soft let-in to Trang 3. So now that you've learned to step into the present and release what weighs you down, what happens when your thoughts try to pull you back again? That's where the next strategy comes in. As you begin practicing the art of letting go, you'll start to notice something profound, a sense of clarity, a calm space that was always within you, just waiting to be uncovered. Embrace impermanence and practice letting go, continued. That mental space? It's not new. It's always been there, quiet, still beneath the constant noise of overthinking. When you embrace the truth that thoughts are temporary, you no longer feel the need to hold on to every idea that crosses your mind. This shift isn't just a method, it's a mindset, a way of living more peacefully, more presently, moment by moment. Create a worry period. Still, even as we try to be present, worries often sneak back in, don't they? Like a refrigerator's hum, always there, sometimes faint, sometimes loud, but never really gone. These thoughts can surface at the worst times, during work, at dinner with friends, or when you're lying in bed, desperate for sleep. It's as if your mind is a stage, and your worries are the uninvited actors who won't leave the spotlight. So, what can you do? Take a page from Epictetus, the Stoic teacher, who once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This may sound strange at first, but what he's really saying is this: don't sacrifice your peace just to look like you've got it all together. It's okay to admit that you're struggling. What matters most is your inner calm, not the image you project. Here's where the worry period technique comes in, a brilliant Stoic approach to managing anxiety. The idea is simple but powerful. Give your worries a designated time to exist. Not all day, not whenever they want. Just one specific moment each day, perhaps 20 minutes in the afternoon, where you allow yourself to think about them fully. During that time, write your worries down. Analyze them. What are you really afraid of? How likely is this worst-case scenario? Is there anything you can actually do? You'll often discover that many of your fears are like shadows, looming large but lacking real substance once you shine a light on them. By giving your worries a home, you keep them from overrunning your mental landscape. When the time is up, you move on, just like closing a book and putting it back on the shelf. You've acknowledged your concerns. Now you're free to return to your day. This isn't about erasing worry altogether. That's not realistic. It's about containing it, managing it, and reclaiming your mental boundaries. Just like tidying up a cluttered room, this simple ritual helps you sort, store, and create space to breathe. And in that spaciousness, life feels lighter. The noise softens. The joy returns. Break down overwhelming thoughts into actionable steps. Now, what happens when your mind gets buried under a massive looming problem? Let's be honest. Overthinking often feels like carrying a boulder on your shoulders. One heavy thought turns into many, and suddenly, you're crushed under the pressure of needing to fix everything right now. This kind of paralysis is common in a world that demands high performance in all aspects: work, relationships, personal growth, even social image. The fear of failing, of not being enough, can stop us before we even start. But Marcus Aurelius once again offers a path forward. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." So what does that mean for us? It means when a thought feels too big, too overwhelming to face, don't try to conquer it all at once. Instead, break it down. Slice the mountain into stepping stones. Ask yourself, what's the next small action I can take? Not the 10th step, not the whole plan, just the very next thing. One clear, doable step, because progress isn't made in leaps, it's made in steps. And action is the antidote to anxiety. Smooth led in to Trang 4. And as you begin to take those small steps forward, you'll find something else waiting for you, a surprising source of strength, rooted not in effort, but in stillness. Let's talk about that next. After breaking down your worries into small, manageable steps, you begin to see something extraordinary: progress. And with each tiny action, the weight of overthinking begins to lift. Break down overwhelming thoughts into actionable steps. Continued. At first glance, one small step might seem too minor to matter. But don't be fooled. What feels trivial is, in fact, a powerful antidote to mental chaos. When you focus on a single action, even a tiny one, you're making a conscious choice to move energy away from worry and toward purpose. It's like untangling a huge, stubborn knot, not by pulling harder, but by working on one small loop at a time. You're not ignoring the complexity of the situation. You're approaching it with intention and clarity. That's where the beauty of this technique lies, in its simplicity. Each step builds momentum. And as you continue, you suddenly realize the massive boulder of worry that once blocked your path has crumbled into manageable pebbles behind you. You didn't escape the challenge. You moved through it, patiently, persistently, and with growing confidence. This approach nurtures not just clarity, but resilience. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop waiting for the perfect plan and start moving forward, one choice at a time. And with each step, overthinking gives way to something better: clarity, action, and inner strength. Shift your perspective to gratitude. But what if your mind keeps circling back to what's missing, what's wrong, what's unfinished? This is where the next powerful Stoic practice comes in. Shifting your focus to gratitude. The mind, by default, often pulls us into a loop of dissatisfaction, dwelling on what we lack, what hasn't happened yet, or what could possibly go wrong. It's like wandering in a mental maze, always one corner away from peace but never quite arriving. Overthinking thrives in that maze. It feeds on the negative, the not yet, the never enough. But as Seneca wisely said, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. This is your call to pivot, to move your mental spotlight from scarcity to abundance, from fear to appreciation, from overthinking to gratitude. Gratitude has a way of grounding you. It brings you back to the richness of the now, the only place where life is actually happening. And the best part? You don't need anything grand. Start with 3 small things you're grateful for each day. A warm cup of coffee, the soft sunlight through your window, a quick message from someone who cares. These aren't just feel-good moments. They are powerful reminders that your life is already full of value. By anchoring yourself in this practice, you begin to shift your entire inner dialogue. Your thoughts move from scarcity to sufficiency, from endless seeking to quiet appreciation. Over time, this daily habit becomes a foundation, a source of calm resilience. So when challenges come, you don't fall back into panic, you lean into presence. And from that place, you begin to see life not as a battle, but as a gift. Focus on effort, not outcome. Lead into Trang 5. But even with gratitude, we still often fall into one of the deepest traps of overthinking, obsessing about the future. So how do we silence that constant pressure to predict the outcome? The Stoics offer a surprising answer. Gratitude helps us shift our attention from fear to fulfillment. But sometimes, even with appreciation in our hearts, our minds still spiral, especially when the outcome feels uncertain. Focus on effort, not outcome. Overthinking often creeps in when we start obsessing over results. What might happen, what should happen, what must happen. The future becomes a fog, and in that fog, fear thrives. But the Stoics offered a radical idea. Let go of outcomes. That doesn't mean giving up your goals or ambitions. It simply means detaching your peace from things you cannot control. Instead, place your value on something you can control: your effort, the energy you put in, the integrity you bring, the virtue that guides your steps. So the next time your mind races with questions about where your path might lead, pause. Gently redirect your focus. Am I doing my best right now? Are my intentions honest? Am I staying true to my values regardless of the outcome? This shift doesn't mean ignoring the future. It means anchoring yourself in the present, the only place where your actions actually happen. When you commit to the process than the prize, you gain something far more valuable than control. You gain freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from constant doubt. Freedom from the pressure of needing to predict the future. And in that freedom, each action becomes more than a means to an end. It becomes an expression of who you are, a reflection of your purpose. Every step you take, guided by intention than anxiety, becomes a quiet triumph, a piece of a meaningful life lived well. Practice voluntary discomfort. Now you may wonder, what happens when discomfort triggers our overthinking? That's where the next Stoic principle offers surprising wisdom. Our minds tend to panic at the idea of discomfort. We imagine worst-case scenarios. We replay them endlessly. We try to prepare for every possible outcome. Yet all that mental rehearsal often leads to exhaustion, not relief. The comfort zone becomes a trap. And overthinking? The guard that keeps us locked inside. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing." In other words, life is gritty. It's not about flowing through without resistance. It's about being prepared to grapple with it. That's why the Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, intentionally doing small things that felt a little uncomfortable to train the mind not to fear the unknown. You can do the same. Start with something simple. Take a cold shower. Skip a convenience like using a pillow or the elevator. Walk instead of drive. These aren't punishments. They're micro-challenges meant to build resilience. They remind you that discomfort is not as unbearable as your mind makes it out to be, and as you stretch that tolerance, something remarkable happens. You become less reactive, less fragile. The mind quiets, your focus sharpens, and slowly, overthinking loses its grip. What once seemed threatening now feels manageable. What once stirred anxiety now becomes just another moment to meet with strength. Voluntary discomfort creates a paradox. By stepping willingly into unease, you become more comfortable with life itself. Reflect on the transience of life. But perhaps, the most profound way to break free from overthinking is to zoom out. To see the bigger picture. Because when we're too focused on the small stuff, we forget how fleeting life really is. Let's explore that powerful perspective next. When we zoom out and reflect on the bigger picture, we realize that many of the thoughts consuming us are, in truth, just passing clouds. That's where the wisdom of impermanence becomes a guiding light. Reflect on the transience of life. Seneca once wrote, "We are not given a short life, but we make it short. And we are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it." Those words hit deep. They remind us that life isn't lacking in time, but in presence. Every moment spent overthinking is not just a distraction, it's a moment unlived, a breath wasted on what-ifs instead of what is. This Stoic truth encourages us to reflect. Will these worries we carry now still matter in a week, a year, a decade? When overthinking begins to overwhelm, take a step back and look at your life in its entirety. Zoom out from the stress of the moment. Ask yourself honestly, is this thought truly worth the limited time I have on this earth? Most of the time, the answer is no. This isn't about ignoring responsibility or becoming indifferent. It's about choosing what matters. When we embrace the fleeting nature of life, we learn to prioritize our presence, to value experiences over endless mental loops. Let this awareness of transience serve as a compass, not to scare you, but to sharpen your focus, to remind you that your time is precious and best spent living, not lingering in imagined futures. Life's impermanence isn't a shadow, it's a canvas. And every day you live with presence, you add color, meaning, and beauty to that canvas. 10. Seek wisdom from outside yourself. Sometimes, no matter how much we reflect, our minds become like echo chambers, recycling the same thoughts over and over again. It's like trying to solve a puzzle, but every piece just leads to another layer of confusion. This is the trap of overthinking. It keeps us stuck within ourselves. Seneca, celebrated for his insight, once said, "Consult your friend on everything, especially on those matters concerning yourself." His counsel may then be useful where your own self-love might impair your judgment. These are not just wise words, they're a lifeline. They remind us that we don't have to untangle every knot alone. Sometimes, the path out of overthinking is as simple as asking for another perspective. It could be a trusted friend, a mentor, a spiritual guide, or even the timeless wisdom you find in books. In today's world, applying this is more accessible than ever. Reach out to people whose values you admire. Speak your thoughts out loud. Often, the act of articulating what's in your mind brings clarity, and in return, others can offer feedback you couldn't see while stuck in your mental loop. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. It's a reminder that we are meant to think together, to learn from one another, to carry burdens side by side. When you share your struggle, it becomes lighter. When you hear another's voice, your own mind softens. The maze of overthinking slowly unravels, not because the problems vanish, but because you're no longer trying to solve them alone. Let the insight of others become a light when your path feels dark. Each conversation, each shared moment of reflection brings you closer to peace. So, which of these Stoic strategies resonated with you most? We'd love to hear your reflections in the comments below. Today's insights are just stepping stones in a lifelong journey of wisdom. If you found value in these thoughts, consider subscribing, giving the video a thumbs up, and joining us again. Together, let's keep walking the path of clarity, resilience, and ancient wisdom.